Judge Kenneth Hoyt heard excerpts from victim impact statements from two of the victims of David Maris. Maris is accused of being a career pimp in the Houston, Texas area. One victim said, "Many days I thought might be my last, being beat as if I'm not human. I ask that you ensure that no other human has to be subject to the threat of Mr. Maris. He has created distress and trauma to too many women." Another victim called Maris the devil. "I was fearing for my life, not knowing how to escape the humiliation that was going on. I have been mentally and physically abused," the other victim said. David Maris is an accused career pimp who abused, controlled, and exploited his victims. He stooped to a new kind of low by taking advantage of one of the girls who had a learning disability and the mental capacity of a child. Maris wasn't the caretaker he wanted the court or his prey to believe him to be. He was a dangerous predator who saw his victims not as girls or women, but as money-making commodities. At trial, the jury heard evidence that spanned from approximately 2007 to 2016. 4 victims testified about how they each met Maris while still teenagers and how he won them over with gifts and kindness before using threats, sexual abuse, and physical force to compel them into prostitution. Mary allegedly trafficked one victim for 8 years, during which she endured his reign of terror. One girl began a relationship with Maris, then 32, when she was only 17 years of age, after she had run away from home in California. Another victim was 15 when she met Maris, who was then 34 at the time. Both of these girls considered Maris their boyfriend in their early stages of their relationship, but were eventually forced to engage in commercial sex in North Houston. One testified that they had to engage in these acts daily and at all times of the day. Another victim, 14, encountered Maris, then 41, and eventually ran away to live with him after they met on Moco Space. She testified he had sexually assaulted her twice while she was with him in 2016. Testimony revealed Maris had put 2 of the girls on a peanut butter diet in order to fatten them up for the purpose of working as his prostitutes. Evidence shows text messages between Maris and several victims demonstrating his constant control over their activities, including during their sex dates. He controlled where they went, what they wore, what they ate, and with whom they engaged in commercial sex. The jury saw ads, which Maris created for 2 of the victims, and heard evidence about numerous times he had accessed Backpage, a site formerly used for the purpose of advertising people for sexual activities. Some victims testified Maris perpetuated acts of violence upon them, from slapping them across the face to being bound and gagged. They reported multiple instances in which they feared physical retaliation if they did not comply with demands, did not do as instructed, or perform sexual acts as required. One victim described violence she experienced at the hands of Maris following her release from jail. At one point, when the girls weren't making enough money, Maris made one of them participate in a bank robbery. When it didn't go exactly the way he planned, he beat her and called her stupid, among other names. That victim also described how she had virtually no relationships with anyone outside Maris' circle. He had taken her ID, would not let her drive or even use the phone. In trying to find the right word to describe the experience, she testified she felt kidnapped at the time and called him in court a threat to young women. "I felt like I had met the devil," she said. When she had eventually made it back to her family in California after seeking help from the Houston authorities, Maris contacted her and threatened to call the police about her actions in the bank robbery if she did not return to him. Evidence and testimony further established Maris caused supplemental Social Security income benefits intended for one of the victims be directed to him. That victim had been diagnosed with mental retardation at an early age. Maris himself described her as having the mental capacity of a child and could not do the simplest of tasks without constant supervision or instruction. The defense implied the victims only implicated Maris to avoid prosecution for their actions. The defense attempted to portray Maris as simply a loving boyfriend who provided protection while the girls voluntarily engaged in commercial sex. However, testimony revealed the victims had to turn over the monies they earned for sexual acts directly to Maris. The jury did not believe the defense claim and found him guilty on all charges. And U.S. District Judge Kenneth Hoyt rendered a life sentence to Mr. David Maris.